to the BuiltOnAir podcast, the variety show for all things Airtable. Each episode, we cover 4 different segments. It's always fresh and different and lots of fun while you get the insider info on all things Airtable. Our hosts and guests are some of the most senior experts in the Airtable community. Join us live each week on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern and join our active community at BuiltOnAir.com/join. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, OnToAir.com. Any business running on Airtable gets the value that Airtable has, but also needs a few more functions to complete their operations. That's where OnToAir comes in. It's a suite of tools for any business running on Airtable to maximize your operations efficiencies and automations. One customer, John, states that OnToAir enables his business to function properly without having to think about building their own software, and that is pretty invaluable. The OnToAir Airtable apps are amazing, and we use them often and are very happy with the results. So join John and hundreds more customers and take your Airtable to the next level with OnToAir. Sign up today with promo code BuiltOnAir for a 10% discount. Check them out at OnToAir.com. And now let's check out today's episode and see what we built on air. All right, welcome to another episode of the BuiltOnAir podcast, season 10, episode 10. Good to be with you this Tuesday morning. Myself, Dan Fellers, and regular hosts Alli Alosa and Camille Parks with us. Welcome back. And we have a new but well-known face amongst us, Kavan. A new but well-known face amongst us, Kavan. Welcome, Kavan.
Hello.
Good to have you back with us again.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, we got to make sure everybody knows how. I'm sure everybody recognizes your name, but does everybody know how to say your name? That's what we're going to make sure everybody knows how to say your name. Tell us how to say your name so we all know. So
my name is Kavan. It's pronounced like Yvonne, but with a K in front, and the E at the end is silent. So Kavan. And if you mispronounce it, that's okay. I had a high school math teacher that mispronounced my name for 4 years, didn't realize the correct way of pronouncing it until I actually graduated. But he was the sweetest teacher, loved him, learned so much math from him, and it's okay.
Very good, Kavan. Is there any history or significance to the name?
It is the mispronunciation of a misspelling of a Chinese name. And don't ask me to pronounce the original Chinese name because I don't speak Chinese.
Very good. You're getting a shout out from Sentiments of Grace.
Oh,
new visitor amongst us. Welcome to all of our listeners and watching live. Welcome back. Good to have you. As always, the BuiltOnAir podcast is an hour long. We'll go through 4 different segments. I'll go through briefly what we're going to be touching on today. As always, we talk about what's going on in the Airtable communities in our Round the Bases segment. Then we'll do a spotlight on our primary sponsor, OnToAir. Then we'll do a segment on GlideApps. Camille is going to walk us through how to use GlideApps with Airtable. And then we'll learn about a new hot off the press feature called Editable Shared Views. Just went live this morning.
What?
Alli is going to... Camille is just getting this. She wasn't on the chat earlier, so...
Surprise!
Surprise.
I think it seems like they're releasing things. This is what has happened before, where they release things on a Tuesday. So you got to go and check what's going on in Airtable before you start the broadcast, because surprise releases on Tuesday mornings.
Shout out to Scott, who's listening, who informed me about this. So shout out to Scott there. So Alli, in a matter of 30 minutes, became an expert on this feature and is going to demo it for us.
Yes.
Then we'll do a highlight on our BuiltOnAir community. And then finally, Kavan is going to showcase her latest app in the marketplace called My One Record. And we'll see through that. So excited to go through everything. So first, with Round the Bases, since we already kind of talked about it, I'll highlight, this is where I think Scott probably saw this as well. So somebody posted in the Airtable forums that this is now showing up in your bases. So like I said, we're gonna dive deep into this, but the basic concept is you can, in your shared views, you can make it so that people who can see the shared views can actually edit data in your table. So that means they don't even have to be logged into Airtable. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, getting reaction from people who just saw about that. I'm gonna give ourselves a little bit more room here. Let me turn this off. There we go.
Yeah, Scott, they didn't announce it, but this is something that's in keeping with what they've done. Is a lot of times is they'll do a quiet rollout and then they will announce it after it's been rolled out.
Make sure there's not too many bugs here. So we'll get into the nitty gritty of what this means and how you can use it later on in the show. But just want to point that out. Shout out to Scott and Julian who pointed that out as well. And I think, Kavan, you mentioned this has been in enterprise for a while and looks like they're now opening it up to everybody. Okay, next one. They announced this. So give an announcement Jordan made is there's now a new portal where you can go and find a listing of experts in Airtable. So if you're looking for consultants to help you improve your base, and especially for businesses that are trying to get the most out of Airtable, this new website has some of us on here, at least 3 of us on here are in here. So you can go through and find an expert that can help you get going and whatnot. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out. Airtable investing in portions of their ecosystem, which is good to see.
You can even see that the URL is ecosystem.airtable.com.
Yep. So maybe more to come on that front. So if you're looking for an Airtable consultant, check out this place, and you can get in touch with anybody directly through this interface. So that is exciting, especially for those in the consulting Airtable world. Next one, I thought this was interesting. Obviously, a war going on in the world, and I've seen, this is the only one I shared for this show, but I've seen a lot of cool things of people using Airtable to, mobilize very quickly and helping refugees and things like that. This was one that somebody posted. So a lot of people using Airtable with these war efforts of helping in some regard or whatnot. This is one by Mike, who also runs a company called Simple Scraper. So it's a scraping service, and he scraped all this information and is storing it inside of Airtable to use for geolocation, intelligence information. So if that's of interest, check out what they've got going on. But I thought it was cool how quickly people can mobilize using Airtable. I know there's one group that is helping refugees, and they hit their record limit. And I know they're trying to get Airtable to help them increase their record limit to help more there. So cool stuff there. All right, moving on. We'll go to Reddit is community. And this is one that was interesting. I think this is a common issue. I'd like to get your all input on ways to handle. So the situation here is they have a field, and sometimes they want a default value based off of a formula, but sometimes they want to override that default value. So what are some kind of best practices where you have a case where you have, an input field, a text or number or something, and if you don't enter something, you want to use a default value? How do you guys typically handle that?
Well, some fields allow you to have a default value to begin with. I think the text or single line text, currency and number, maybe percent.
Yeah,
I'll let you have defaults. And the other fields don't. If you wanted the defaults to be formula based, sometimes what I would do is have a formula field and then an override field. So the formula would calculate whatever the default should be, and then have there's a couple different ways. You could have 3 fields, a formula that calculates what the default would be, a text field or a currency or some editable field that's an override. And then a third field that says, if there's a value in the override field, use that value. Otherwise, use the formula. You can probably condense that down into just two fields now that I've said it out loud. Or you could use an automation that copies a value from a formula into your override field if that's what you wanted.
Right. Or you can just, every time a record's created, just assign a default value to any field. And then you can change it from there.
So part of it is, to me, is what's your data entry method? The fields that take default values, that only works when you're in the actual Airtable interface itself. If you've got people that are creating records in other ways, then those default values don't actually get set. So then you need to have these other methods. And then the other one I have is this something where you want it to be a default value just when the record is created? Or do you want to have something where they could be maybe adding or changing that override value? So if it's something where you're only ever going to be doing the default when the record is created in the grid view, then just use the native default values for those fields. For anything else, I use what Camille said, and typically with the 2 systems where you've got your editable override field and then the formula field that just wraps it all in one, because I hate having too many extra.
Fair.
Yeah, very good, very good. Some input from, we learned her name, Brandy, is the Sentiments of Grace using automations. And Jan mentioned that default values don't sync with other tables. So that's interesting. I don't think I knew that. So when you sync a table, a field, the default value doesn't go over into the sync table. But I don't know that it would need to, right? Because those are read-only. So it should have been used. So maybe, so what he's saying is, because the default value, when you create it, that value should be entered and saved in the field.
Yeah. So
not sure there. Might have to explore that in the future. All right, here's another one. So this person on Reddit is talking about cataloging their personal library. So I thought this was interesting to pose the question, what's the last base that you've created for your personal life? The most recent base that you've created?
My wedding planner.
Your wedding planner? This person here, I was like, holy cow, this person does a lot of personal stuff in Airtable. So they've got a long list of, this was my favorite one, the chickens, keeping track of their, apparently must have a farm or something, keep track of all their chicken breeds, or maybe it's just the chickens they like to eat. I'm not sure.
That's awesome.
I see they have a base for D&D. I made one for a campaign I was going to run, and I wanted an encounter tracker, if you're familiar with tabletop gaming, and I was halfway committed to making a custom app to sort of make the data entry part of it simpler. I don't know if I could do it in an interface, because creating records in interfaces is still not, super ideal. But that might be something, my next venture for like personal means.
Definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah. So my most recent personal base was, my daughter is in her first year of college, and she was considering changing majors. And so I went ahead and I created a base that had the different requirements so that she could see, okay, if you wanted to double major, which are all the classes and all the prerequisites that she should be taking now so that she could still graduate on time, versus if she just switched major, how much overlap was there between the 2 different majors, and, which classes and which prerequisites there were. So that was kind of fun.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's funny. So when they were in high school, I went through and I did the exact same kind of thing for high school, say, okay, these are all the credits that you need to get in the different fields. So for course planning selections.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
I just did my most recent one last night. Actually, yesterday, my son and I are doing a push-up challenge. So every day we're doing a minute of push-ups, and we're going to track and see how we improve. So just a quick app and a form that I saved to my home screen on my phone to just quickly enter how many push-ups we do each day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think quick data entry like that is ideal for the phone app. That there's a lot you can't do, but you want that quick data entry. Hey, I did this. It's fabulous.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually just made one. I have eczema on my hands, and I've been trying to get to the bottom of like what makes it worse. And so I created an eczema tracker. Mm-hmm. And so I made an automation. Actually, I used shortcuts so that like on my iPhone, I get a text every night at 6, and it's like, here's the form, a link to the form, fill it out. I take a picture of it, like make any notes of like what I ate, and like just trying to like get to the bottom of like why I have eczema. So we'll see how that data looks. It'll be kind of interesting.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. Let us know if you're listening in. We got some feedback from Brandy on Disney planning, Bill's budget tools, and then Rebecca, an app for caretakers of her autistic son. So cool. That's amazing. That's what I love about Airtable. Like, it definitely has value in your work and business life, but even more so in your personal life. So good stuff there. All right, moving on. Let's go to the Airtable community in Facebook. This one I thought was interesting. I don't think I knew this. So Jonathan mentions that the description that you can write for, I believe this is at the table level, it doesn't support emojis. So he was trying to use emojis and it converts them to just question marks. Actually, this is a view description. So he was saying at first when you first save them, they show, but then when you come back later, they don't show. So that's kind of annoying, but if you rely on emojis, and other people are saying it looks like it depends on which emoji you're using. So maybe some work and some don't.
Yeah. I wonder if it could be a browser thing too. I've noticed like different emojis show up differently in Chrome versus Safari versus whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different platforms.
On my Mac, the flag symbols show up as flags, and then I've noticed on Windows they just show up as like the code for the country. Right. It's less exciting.
Yeah. It's different character encodings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Similar, we learned a couple weeks ago that links are kind of, well, in views you might be able to click on a link, but the table ones move away before you can get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think views you might be able, I don't know if it supports links in view descriptions. Can try that. So, all right, one more quick from the community. Jan, his most recent personal one was bands he wants to see at Grasspop. Must be a European concert. Yeah. Sounds like fun. So that will be cool. All right, moving on. One more announcement. We need to get a shout out in there. I believe all 4 of us are going to be at Airtable. So
I believe Kavan is speaking.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking about formula fields. Cool. So anyone wants to see how I go about creating formulas, I'm sure all of you already know all about it, but there's some tips and trips that other people don't know that might make writing formulas easier.
That'll be good. There's speakers. So this is April
8th and 9th.
Yeah.
8th and 9th. And it's in Austin, Texas. And go to Airtable. Is it actually Airtable.com now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's got Airtable.com now. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to highlight this. I saw this post, and so this speaker, Julian Post, I just came across his TikTok. So have you guys seen his TikTok?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So I've got to verify.
That's so fun. I've never seen that before.
The verification.
No.
So he does the classic TikTok videos all about Airtable, and he's even got some music going on. So if you want to be entertained and waste a lot of time on TikTok, go check out Julian Posts. Rebecca says she's obsessed with him.
That's awesome. I love the name. I excel with Airtable.
Yeah, he takes lots of jabs at Excel. So it's crazy. He's got 18,000 followers. So he's got and he's an Airtable consultant. So he'll be there. I look forward to, this is the first I've come across him. So I wasn't aware of him. So we need to get him on the show.
That's awesome. Good for him. My husband told me like years ago, he's like, you should just make TikToks about Airtable. And I was like, how does one do that? I don't understand. And he's done it and done it well. That's amazing.
Yeah. Looks like we've got some followers amongst us here. So good stuff. Julian, come meet with us on the show. We want to hear more about what you're doing with this. So all right, that concludes our Around the Bases on what's going on in the Airtable community. Camille, you're going to be up next, so if you want to get ready. And before then, highlight on OnToAir. OnToAir is an all-in-one toolkit to run your business on Airtable. It's a suite of apps that allow your business to excel and perform to its best ability using Airtable and extending it to its maximum. For today's spotlight, I wanted to highlight we've been getting a lot of interest in our Google Docs integration and highlight a resource that's on our website, ontoair.com, on how you can use Google Docs as your templates for creating invoices or any legal entity or anything that can be derived in Google Docs. One of the advantages of using Google Docs is your data can stay with you. You can keep it and it's usable even after you populate it with the data. You can convert it to a PDF and save it back as an attachment or use it as a starting template to then enhance and add more to. So a lot of people are interested in using Google Docs versus maybe a page designer or another tool like that. So if that's of interest to you and you're already using Google Docs, check out how you can use that as your template to automate your template, your document creation with that. So check out OnToAir, ontoair.com, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions on that front. Okay, with that, we're going to learn more about GlideApps from Camille.
Hello. I'm going to preface this by saying I am by no means an expert in Glide. I started using it over the weekend, and I just wanted to give my initial impressions and what you could build relatively quickly using Glide. So we talk a lot about a lot of the third-party solutions to creating public-facing apps of some sort. So we've talked about, and we've had as guests on our show before, the makers of Softer and the makers of Stacker and
The.com.
The.com. Pori, for everyone's reference, I'm sure Chris will talk about it a bunch on his own show, but the Daretable.com conference website is built out of Pori, but we haven't talked about as much making mobile apps. And a lot of the websites and third parties I just mentioned are mobile friendly, so they look nice on a phone, but some third parties are sort of designed for that mobile app experience first. And two of the ones that I think are the bigger names, or at least the ones that I'm most familiar with, are Editable and Glide. Over the weekend, I did a sort of first foray into what Glide sort of looks like and how it works. To my knowledge, it started off as being compatible with Google Sheets, and currently the Airtable integration is in beta. So this is just their website, just sort of scrolling through to see what you could, what you see when you first go to GlideApps.com. And then I made an app just to test things out. a content creator I found or I follow was mentioning, oh, we want to see if we could maybe build an app in the future. And so, of course, I went overboard and did a demo of how one might do that if they have a Airtable base that sort of feeds all of their information. So I took one of the templates on one of Airtable's templates, and we have a very simple setup for episodes. So name of the episode, an image, a release date, and then a bunch of single select fields that, if you can imagine, one might want to filter by. So maybe you want to only see things by this author or only see things by this host. And then there's some changes that I made to make it sort of work well in the context of a Glide app. I have added a simple formula field that concatenates all three of these fields together into a comma-separated list. And then this link field is linking to a table of filters where that's all the same values as before. And each filter has a type, a description, the list of episodes, and then a roll-up of images, including a count of how many episodes match that particular filter. So the type is actually the pages that show up in Glide. And the reason I did this is because Glide doesn't, or as far as I could tell from my initial sort of playing around, Glide doesn't let you just have a page by itself. It has to be connected to a data source of some kind, i.e. a table. So I linked the first page that you see to the table of pages. So because these are all linked record fields, I could say if I want to search by authors, I am now looking at the filters with the type author, and then I can choose between Robin, who has 9 episodes, or Peyton, who has 7. If I pull that up, I can see all of the matching episodes. Something to note, I'm on the free plan because I'm just testing things out. There are 7 records linked to Peyton. When you pull in data from Airtable on the free plan, you're limited to 10 rows per table that are synced through. So the count will be correct, but the episodes that are linked are going to be limited. Something that I thought was cool was that I have a regular count field in Airtable that is just, counting how many linked records. But if I wanted to have a suffix, I could have made a formula field in Airtable, but since I only need it for the app itself, what I like about Glide is that I can add a unit after the end of the count. So I just said space episodes, and that's displayed anywhere I want to use that count field. And I could also control the precision, which is something I didn't realize at first. It actually came in at 2 decimal places. That's something that you can adjust on the Glide side. I also included fields in Airtable for a sort order so that I can make hosts appear first and then authors and then series, because alphabetical wouldn't really work for me in that case. But you can see each of those 3 tables that are coming from Airtable are pulled in automatically, and setting up a data source was actually pretty simple. I don't know if I'll be able to edit it really quick to show you what that would look like. But when you have everything sort of set up, Glide gives you the domain name. If you open it up in a browser, you can preview what it would look like on your phone. And I've sort of tested it out on my actual phone, and it looks identical. So I don't know. I'm very pleased with just sort of my first foray into using Glide, in which you could build pretty dang quickly, and how you can navigate in between linked records and all of that. I just thought it would be fun to share.
That is, and it does support editing as well, right? Or is it just
Yes.
read? Yeah.
So for this particular case, I didn't really need to edit. Something that it comes in, some basic functionality that it comes with is being able to favorite an item. So I have my privacy set to public, so there's no signing in. But if I said, I think if I change the options to one of these where there's actually signing in, you'll see I'm signed in as me. You'd be able to like have an option where it says list all the episodes or list only my favorites. That's something that I like that it comes with out of the box. And when you do that, there is a column that gets added for is favorite. And Glide has this option that says the column is user specific, meaning that you can see I'm previewing as myself right now, and it's saying Camille has favorited the released filter. But if I were to preview as another user, they might have favorited invited, and that's how it keeps track of who's favorited what. And you can have multiple different fields that are specific to a particular user.
Awesome. Isn't it amazing how quickly you can build a mobile app?
It was pretty dang quick. I've used Editable a little bit, and Editable I think is a little bit less intuitive, or at least I found it a little less intuitive. Glide, setting up the Airtable was you pick which base essentially, and you give it your API key, and then from then on, it is automatically pulling any new tables, any new fields, any new records that you add to that base for you. So I didn't have to go in and link the episodes table and then the filters table and then the pages. It just sort of did it for me and then kept updating automatically.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Camille, for showing that. And if you want to learn more, GlideApps, what's the pricing model?
Well, that's a good question. Let's see. So if I sort of hover over the upgrade plan, you can see what you get for free. If I go to upgrade now, you can see the basic sort of pricing structure. I think for a lot of cases, Basic App might cover a lot of different use cases, but if you're sort of using Airtable as your data source and you're thinking of what Airtable's limits are, you might be pushed more towards the Pro app based on the record limit is 50,000 records, I think, for Pro. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's either the private Pro app or the Pro app, depending on how close you're going to get to your record limit. And then there's always the notion of if your app that you're building is more complex than just displaying data, if you need users to log in and edit things, Glide is made to do that, but I haven't tested it yet, so I can't speak to how well or how easy or how intuitive that process might be. So just keep your options open. I'm just saying what I've seen thus far with Glide, I've been pretty impressed. I think it's one of my favorite third parties that I've demoed. And this is only a beta, the Airtable connector. And I don't think I've run into anything that is super limiting thus far with their beta.
Yeah, and they've been around for a while
Yes.
They started with Google Sheets, and so pretty stable platform there, and then just adding Airtable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff there. So GlideApps.com, check that out, how you can build with your Airtable. Moving on, we're now going to pass it off to Alli. It's going to show us some new stuff.
All right. Okay, everyone can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit, I just chose a fairly simple use case to demo this pretty cool new feature. I think everyone's really excited about this. So this is a base of company vehicles I've changed like the names and people in it. Also, something really cool to note, somebody posted about this on the Airtable community forum, this website, Mockaroo. Very helpful. It's super cool. You just pick what kind of fake data you want to generate, and it'll give you a bunch of just fake data that you can paste right in to Airtable. So
Nice.
super helpful. So generally speaking, before this feature was released overnight, we have in here a page designer app that we would generally print out every month and actually give, like, physically or email somebody this piece of paper, and they would have to fill it out and say, yep, all this is correct. Here's my notes. It's verified. This was built years and years ago. Maybe I would have redone it in mini extensions, like if I had the time now. But this is super cool because now we can just say we have this view here, which is filtered by audit rep. So that's just whoever I want to be in charge of this list. And I can go to share. We're going to see a lot of things that look familiar, except for this whole section that does not. And why don't I just do it with a new view just so we can see how that goes. I'm going to go to share and create a shareable grid view link. And now we've got this new option at the bottom, allow viewers to edit records. And when I toggle that on, by default, it gives me all editable fields, but I can actually choose the specific fields that I want people to be able to edit. So for this situation, you know, they shouldn't be able to edit that unit number, but maybe they can change the location that the vehicle is at. Year, make, and model, those things aren't going to change, but they could reassign the department. Sometimes the plate changes because we're a dealership, so that they might be switching around plates on our company vehicles. You could change the driver, the use, maybe the status, and let's just go with those. And so now I can embed this on my site, or I could just view it in a new window. But I'm going to take it a little bit further, and we have a little company intranet. This is a site called MyHub. Highly recommend it. It's very cost effective if you're looking for an intranet. And here I just have this embedded. So I grabbed the code from here and just pasted it into this little HTML element block in here. And so now I have this on a page where I can direct those employees to come to this page and make their edits that they need to make. So let's make this larger here. And you can see as I'm clicking through on the ones that I said that they could not edit, I still can't edit these, but I can change the plate or assign a plate to it. Now here's where the limitations for me start. And this list of plates, I wouldn't want somebody to be able to pick from any one of them. So that's still very limiting. Like there's only a certain subset of those plates that this location should be able to choose from. Driver, because this list is all internal, I think this is fine because this isn't going to be shared with anyone else. But this is something that you really need to be careful about. If you're going to be sharing this view with a client, you don't want to be able to, you might not want to expose a dropdown or like a linked record field that's going to another table because now they can see everyone in that list. And currently there's no way to really lock that down.
It's the same as it is in forms when you have a public shared form with a linked record view. Same exact issue.
A common workaround is to have another field where it's like a single line text and you say name of driver or something and you put Clark Gregg in it. And then an automation will then just copy and paste that into the driver field for you. So the driver wouldn't be an editable thing in the shared view, but the driver name would be. So they wouldn't be able to pick from the list or open it up and expose all of that. But it does sort of, you are relying on them typing in the name of something in exactly, and you have to make sure that the automation waits for them to finish typing. So there's probably going to be a delay involved to make sure that they're done before the prompt is over.
That's exactly right. What I would probably do in that case is I would have, a column here that says type driver name, and then maybe a single select next to it that's like you pull down and say, yep, enter driver or match driver. And then if the automation does fail, maybe you could do it conditionally and have it update to say, try again. You didn't get a name right or something.
See, that's one thing where like in here, because you could have a formula instantly show, whereas like in a form, you couldn't do that instantly.
Right.
That's true. After the fact.
Yeah. But I think you still have to do a refresh though.
I think you would.
Because it's the automation that's making the change, not you making the change directly.
You're right. And because
Unless
it's a
it was
shared
a formula.
view.
Yeah. I think formulas would update while you're viewing it. But to see a change made by the automation, I think you would have to do a refresh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think formulas like if the data change is happening from a different source other than that person right there in the form view.
Well, before I would have said nothing would have updated because all the data was static. But now because you can make some changes, I wonder if they've, adjusted whether or not data refreshes while you're looking at it in shared views. If you're obviously looking at it in Airtable, not in a shared view, data will just update before your eyes. But in shared views before, things wouldn't update right away.
Yeah. What I think is happening is that Airtable knows that you're editing this specific record, so that changes that come from your edits get shown right away. But when you have edits coming from a different source, it's not going to know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The automation is like a different source.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if we typed in here, it did work.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. That is really cool.
So that's kind of what I was expecting. The formula is being updated, but not anything from an automation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. Because that is true. If we have a lot of these embedded views on this intranet, and sometimes someone will call and be like, I don't see this here, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you probably haven't refreshed that page. And yeah, exactly. So super, super cool new feature. It's dangerous if you don't set it up correctly, I will say, but it's not any more dangerous than setting up a form with a linked record field. Just have to be aware of your privacy issues and make sure you're not exposing anything you don't want exposed.
And it makes it even more important to make sure that you only share these views with people that you really, really trust, that they also understand the implications of what's going on. Because if you go and do that, and they aren't thinking and they don't realize that this is different, it can get spread throughout, and there's no audit log that says who actually did this.
Right.
It just says it was an anonymous form or an anonymous shared view that did it.
Exactly. That is a good point. And I'm trying to think. One thing I did try while I was preparing for this demo was if you're syncing this somewhere, and I didn't think it would work, and it didn't. Just to confirm, if anyone's wondering, this does not let you sync two-way or let you edit the synced base from the other side from where you're syncing it to. This is a synced version of that table, and I cannot edit any of these fields. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
it does.
Scott asked, can you bring it up real quick again?
Yeah.
Scott asked if you enter the data in the Airtable base without refreshing the shared view, if it will show up. So if you enter something in Airtable, let's see if it changes in the shared view without a refresh.
Doesn't look like it. Let's see if I go, that was C157. Yeah, it doesn't look, I would expect to see it.
But then if you do a refresh now, it should pull it in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that means any automation won't update either. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's good. I found also you can't create linked records on the fly like you normally could inside of Airtable.
Right.
That's another limitation.
That brings me, one thing I did forget to mention is, see, they do have this little plus button down here. You can add a new record. And so I wonder if, no, you can't add the new record here either. No. But this is kind of cool. So you can toggle this on and off. What I would really love to see, just like what Mini Extensions does that I think is so cool, is when you allow users to edit or add records, you can pick different fields that are displayed for viewing versus editing versus adding. And so that's really powerful. And I would love to see that happen as well here, where if you could allow viewers to add new records, then they should give you another subset of fields to say, okay, now they should be able to edit these fields.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I imagine is tricky about that is it's going to create a new record, but it doesn't know what filters you have on that shared view. So you could be adding a new record that doesn't actually match the filters for that. So it's not going to show up and people are going to be confused. They're going to keep adding these records and they're like, why doesn't it show up? Because it doesn't have that validation that says they have to meet these particular criteria.
Exactly. That's a very good point. And that would be a really confusing user experience, I think.
Yeah. The other limitation is you can only do this on a shared view, not when you share the full base. They don't have that feature available, so it's only on the shared view. Can you click? Maybe show it again. Can you click on the linked record? Does it bring the expanded view of the linked record when you click on it in the shared view?
Here. No, but I thought that was an option.
You can't click on that.
Is that right here? Oh, that expanded record.
That's for the expanded,
but not the linked one.
Record.
Right. Yeah.
So that's okay. All right, very good. This is cool. It's exciting. You can do more. Oh, look at that beautiful expanded record.
Oh, and it does look pretty nice.
Oh, hey, it doesn't. Oh, it does still say start typing.
Yeah. So maybe interfaces will follow, like Jan is mentioning. So that might be next with shared interfaces.
Yeah, this is a new thing I didn't see before. I don't know if I'm still sharing, but it says. Yeah, this driver display. So when I started typing into this, instead of displaying the formula like it did when we tried with not in the expanded record, it's showing me this field might be out of date. It'll update when you save the changes. So that's kind of cool because it doesn't calculate the formula until the record is created.
Wait a minute, there's a save button.
Yeah, when you go to add the new record.
Oh, you're adding.
Yes.
Is that only for adding a new record and not for...
I think it's also for editing.
If you expand.
Yeah, I guess it is also for editing.
Have I never noticed that before, or is that only in shared?
This is in the shared.
This is only in the shared.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what's nice about that is, if you have an automation that's based on a text field having data entry in a regular grid view, as soon as you put one character in it, the automation thinks, I'm going to run because you have a value. Right. With this in the shared view, data entry, it doesn't say, hey, I have a new value until you click that save button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very good. All right, cool stuff. Thank you, Alli, for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there will be more to come on that regard. So real quick, final plug for the BuiltOnAir community. If you're in our community, let me show real quick. We are at 999 members. We need to get to 1,000. The next person will be our 1,000th member. So tell your friends, join us in the BuiltOnAir community. The 4 of us are in there, many others. So sign up, builtonair.com/join. sign up for our newsletter as well as our Slack community. We'd love to have you be a part of it. All right, Kavan, I'm going to share my screen for this. So next, our final segment is my one record from the app a day in the marketplace. And Kavan's going to walk me through it on my screen.
Okay. So this is a new app that I've put in the marketplace, and it's called My One Record because the idea is that you want to tag yourself with one record. I came up with this because what I wanted to do was I want to see my linked records for this one parent record that I'm interested in without all this other clutter, without having to search for a bunch of other things. So let's go ahead and do you still have it in there?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Is being very slow with the recording, so.
Okay. But let's go ahead.
This happened.
Good.
This was working.
Would it be easier if I shared?
It might be. Come on. Yeah, maybe get yours ready just in case.
Okay.
Jeez.
Okay. Actually, what I did was
Come on. Yeah, okay. Do you want to share yours?
How do I go about sharing? Let me rearrange my screens.
So there should be a share option in the podcast.
Let's see. Share. Yeah, share screen. It says with 2 monitors. And then it's going to let me pick a window.
Jeez.
And I think this one.
Airtable crashed on me.
Oh, no. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So this is just the sample one that I do where I have a linked records table where I have authors and books, and here are some authors from my childhood. And say I want to look at the linked books, I could have a view where I just showed all of them grouped like this, but then if I want to find a particular author, I have to go hunt for them. Instead, what I have is I have a button over here, and I can say, you know what, I only want to see Jane Austen's book. I click that button, and then I'm taken directly to just Jane Austen's books. Over here, I just want to see Louise May Alcott's books. I click that button, and then I'm instantly looking at those over here without all the other ones looking at it. The way it works is I have this collaborator field. So here it's a collaborator field that has allow adding multiple collaborators, and I turn off notify collaborators when they're added. And then I have my button field that calls my app over here. Then in my child record, I have this here, a lookup field from my link record field that's looking up that multiple collaborators field. And then I have this field filtered so when that field shows only records that have me tagged into it, and every person that is in it would then need to have their own filtered view with that. So this is actually me as my alter ego. And over here, this is me as my other alter ego. So each of us have their own filtered view. When I'm in my other account and I view this one, then it will show me something different. The setup for the app is pretty simple. We have our trigger table, which is going to be, in this case, the parent table. And then we select that multiple collaborator fields that was in there. Usually I have this field hidden because you don't ever need to see it. And then your view table says, what's the view that you want to make active after you click the button? And then the filtered view for who you are. So I can actually do this in, let me see if I have, I think I need, in order to share 2 different screens, I need to share my whole desktop. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me. see if I can redo my share here. Okay, so stop sharing and then start sharing again. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, now we can see them both.
Okay. So we can see here, this is when I click the button here. Say I like Robert Louis Stevenson. On this browser, I'm KV. But over here, exact same record. But over here, I'm L. Frank Baum. And then I can see the different one. And this is in this one, I'm Kavon V. And so that works.
Nice. So it's kind of a state manager for each individual.
Each one here, I have to have my own one here. Now, eventually, I'm hoping this app won't be necessary anymore because interfaces will let us do it, because interfaces let us do, we can see the parent record and the linked records all in one. But what this has that some other things don't is we can have this here where I can add right here. I can say he had this other book that I don't know the title of, but you can add one here. And then right here in this grid view, and you can have all the features of this grid view that you can have it by adding linked records right here. You've got access to button fields that can run scripts. You can see your apps and all of that here. So until all of these features are added into interfaces, this is just a way of looking at your existing workflow with your existing base and just adding this little bit of extra convenience onto it. There are some caveats on it is if you don't have this dashboard active, for example, say you have a different dashboard active and you push the button, you actually have to push the button twice. The first time you push the button, it's going to load the app, but then you need to push it again to get it actually to change the view. It's not that hard to push the button twice, but that's one thing that you have to do if the dashboards are not opened. And the other thing is in some web browsers, changing the views doesn't work. I've been back and forth where I had this in Airtable support when I was in development, and they're like, can't quite figure out what's going on, can't get it so that you can do it all in one button push. But I think it's useful enough. Let's go ahead and release it. And it's there. So if you find it's not working in one web browser, try another one or try it in the native app. I do have a premium license that's available for it. If you install this without the premium license, there is a delay before the view is changed. And all the premium license does is get rid of that delay. So this app, it's all about convenience, about being able to quickly get to the data that you want to see. And, it's not really adding any completely new features that you couldn't do by yourself. So if you're interested in having more convenience, then you can pay for it.
Very cool. Yeah, that can come in handy, especially jumping around a lot.
Yeah. So, did I show the filter view? Sorry, I don't think I showed the filter view. The idea is with the filter view that we can have, it's where that link lookup of the multiple collaborator fields has whoever you are in it.
Yeah, gotcha.
I wish that the Apps SDK let you programmatically create new views that are filtered.
Yeah.
So badly.
Because I think trying to figure out how to create filters is really complicated is what I'm guessing, and they haven't figured out how to do that part yet. Plus, if you create a new view that's filtered, what else are you going to release as far as, do they also want you to be able to view all the other things about views, like, record coloring and things like that?
You can see record coloring in the Apps SDK.
You can see it, but how do you set it?
Right.
Oh, you said set. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If you're going to be able to set filters, then being able to set the record coloring and all of that is the exact kind of same other things. It's just
it's the same logic under the hood. Anywhere they've implemented the and conditional groups,
Right.
you would have to. It would have to be compatible, whatever methodology they go with. It would have to be compatible with all of them. Yeah. It would just be nice so that instead of having each collaborator make their own view or one person make a view for each collaborator, an app like this could say, I already know every collaborator in this base. Make a view for each of them.
Right.
They would just have to figure out how to do that programmatically.
Right.
I would love to be able to even just see what the filters are. Like, I'd love to be able to say, what am I going to break when I delete this field? And am I going to screw up somebody's view that's filtered? Or am I going to trigger a bunch of automations if this field gets deleted and all of a sudden records appear somewhere?
Yeah, there's no easy way of finding you can see what are all the other fields that use this field in a formula or a roll-up, but you can't see which fields are used in automations.
Right, that too. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, many meta items that they can expose. Awesome. Thank you, Kavan, for sharing.
And then I also want to share where you get this
So I was going to ask,
app, if you want a premium license. So KavanGumroad.com is where I do all of my apps and scripts. And this is my one record. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm sharing way too much. Here, it does not have a title field because I'm not a graphic designer. But if you get this and you put in the discount code BuiltOnAir 0322,
nice.
You would save, I think it's 25% for this month.
Awesome.
That's what the 0322 is for.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with the community. And we're excited to see how that goes. So appreciate all that you do for the community. Definitely, people see your name very often answering questions and contributing to the marketplace. So thank you. Glad to have you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Well, thank you very much. I was just chatting earlier. I said it was a little over 2 years ago. I wasn't even a consultant the first time y'all interviewed me, and I was on this show. Camille, do you remember that episode?
Do.
And
I remember all of my episodes, and to this day, your episode this was before we went to the live format, and every episode was structured where we would have a guest like Kavan come on and discuss something that they had built in Airtable, and Kavan's solution was one of like 2 times where in reading the description before the interview, I was like, what on earth is this? Every other solution I could think through, that's probably how they did it, and I would be close. And then Kavan's was a very a prolonged advanced process to auto-generate a book, starting in Airtable, moving to, I think, Excel, and then to Microsoft Access, and then Microsoft Word, or something similar to that. And it was a lot.
It was a long process. And a lot of that could be done now with the new tools that are like Document and stuff like that, or onto Air. Not all of it, because I don't think you could auto-generate your index, whereas that system was able to auto-generate an index. But thank you so much, because you guys have made it possible for me to be where I am now, the Built on Air community, Dan, Camille especially. Dan, if it weren't for you, I would have never written a single app.
Well, that's cool to hear. I'm sure you would have without me.
No, I would not have.
All right, Scott's got one more addition to the shared destination sync tables. Can't be shared with editing, even though Airtable does allow editing of additional. I think, that's similar to what Alli was mentioning.
Yeah.
Yep. So cool. Thank you, Kavan and Camille. Good to see you. Alli had to leave for another call. So goodbye to Alli and everybody else. We'll see you next week on Built on Air. Until then, we can't wait to see what you've built on there. Take care. Thank you for joining today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our sponsor, ontoair.com, and we will see you next time on the Built on Air podcast.